Assalamu alaikum, jazakallah for that introduction. So I'm going to be talking about the relationship between diet and inflammation. And I'm going to echo a lot of what Abid Haq said earlier about diet. Okay. All right, so what we're going to be discussing is we're going to explore how our diet influences inflammation. We're going to go into definitions of inflammation, and we're going to look at dietary factors that are affecting inflammation. We're going to discuss some pro and anti-inflammatory foods along with practical recommendations for clinicians. Okay, so what is inflammation? Inflammation is the body's response to an injury or infection. It involves immune cells, blood vessels, and molecular mediators. There's two types of inflammation, short-term protective. So think of like the cut in this picture. So the body starts to heal. You know, the cut happens, the body starts to heal. So it's protective. And then we're going to talk about a little bit looking at chronic inflammation. So chronic inflammation, think of long-term, something like RA, rheumatoid arthritis. That's where inflammatory cells, instead of protecting the body, they're actually harming the body. They are attacking the cells in the joints. All right, so the role of diet in inflammation. So there's certain foods that can actually exacerbate inflammation or alleviate it. There are both pro-inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods, and we'll talk about those. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is not moving forward. I think my pointer's not working. Can somebody go to the next slide? No, it's the next one. Yes, there we go. Yeah, I'll just tell you when the next slide is. Okay. So how does diet influence inflammation? So there's three factors. So oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is like kind of what happens when we cut an apple. So you leave that apple out, and after a while, it starts to become brown. This browning happens because the apple is reacting with oxygen in the air, causing it to become damaged. This also happens inside of our bodies. There's something called free radicals that act like the oxygen that cause the apple to brown. So when we have too much free radicals in our body, we damage our cells. The second factor is our gut microbiome. So there's a process that happens which is called dysbiosis, and it leads to inflammation. What dysbiosis is actually when we have more harmful bacteria in our gut than helpful bacteria. So we've got more bad bacteria in our gut. And then the third one is adipose tissue. So, you know, that's really fat in our body. So adipose tissue, when we have too much of it, it can actually increase something called cytokines, which are inflammation inside of our bodies. And how we eat, when we have too much, obviously, you know, when we eat too much, then we have more adipose tissue inside of our body. So how we eat influences each of these different areas. All right, next. Other way. Sorry about this, our pointer's not working. It's the other way, Dr. Nadia. Other way. There we go. Okay, so anti-inflammatory foods reduce inflammation, and pro-inflammatory foods, long-term consumptions of these can lead to chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and arthritis. We're going to skip over the next one just to give us a little bit more time. I have two chronic references, so we'll skip over the first one. Just go next. Next, we can go. Before that. It's right before that, Dr. Nadia. And then after that, is there not? Okay, we'll just go into that. Okay, so anti-inflammatory foods. Okay. These are going to be things like fruits and vegetables. So these are rich in antioxidants. So antioxidants is, again, it's going to be protective. It's like something that protects that apple from rotting over time, so it protects our cells from free radicals. And color matters. So we like to have things with a lot of color when it comes to fruits and vegetables, and we'll talk about why. Healthy fats. So healthy fats like omega-3 fatty acids, so dark colored fish, flax seeds and walnuts. These are cardioprotective, so they protect our heart. They actually increase that good cholesterol, that HDL cholesterol. Spices, right? Turmeric and ginger. The things that I do want to tell you is that when it comes to spices, when you get it in a pill form, it's not as bioavailable. So it's really not doing you any good or as good as if you actually ate it in the form of food, right? So if you're adding the turmeric to your food, it's going to be more beneficial than getting it in a pill form. And then whole grains like brown rice, oats, and quinoa, these actually help our body to build that good bacteria, so it helps with our gut microbiome. Next, we're gonna look at pro-inflammatory foods. Okay, all right, back one, please. I apologize for the technical difficulty. Okay, all right, we'll just go into pro-inflammatory foods. So pro-inflammatory foods are going to be processed foods. So processed foods, there we go. Processed foods are going to be things that are altered from their natural form. So basically a processed food is going to be like you take a potato, right? If you take the potato in its natural form, that's a natural food, right? But if you take that potato, you manipulate it and turn it into potato chips, well, now you have a processed food. And that's what we want to stay away from. We also want to limit our intake of red and processed meats. They have more saturated fat that increases your cholesterol typically and increases our adipose tissue in our body. Sugary beverages, these are probably the worst thing because they increase that oxidative stress. So that really can cause chronic conditions very, very quickly. Diabetes, heart disease, very, very quickly. And then refined carbs. These are typically our desserts, pastries, cookies, pies. All of those things are refined carbohydrates that we also want to limit. We'll skip over this one just for the purposes of time. I do want to talk about phytonutrients. So this is really, really good, and a lot of people don't know this, but there are actually not natural compounds that are found in plants that have health benefits, and color matters. Each of the colors of the plant provides a different, unique health benefit. So if you have foods that are red, they support your urinary tract, right? You know, things like your cherries and your cranberries and your strawberries, and they also protect against cancer. Fruits and vegetables that are blue, they help our brain and our cognitive development. Things that are green are going to help support our lungs. They're going to help support our liver as well. And then white, it's really interesting because actually white supports your bones. So it's kind of, when you're eating something white, you're helping your bones. And then yellow. Yellow is really good for our eyes, and it helps with our immune function. So again, we know that it has... You have 1 more minute. Okay, we know that it has a lot of vitamin C, the yellow-colored foods. Okay. So our last slide, so I'm almost done here. So practical recommendations for patients. So this is what we want to encourage our patients to do. Include fish, dark-colored fish, a couple of times a week. Limit your red meats also to no more than about twice a week. And then include legumes. Oh my gosh, I can say so much about legumes. They help your gut microbiome, they help lower your cholesterol, they've got a lot of fiber. So at least 2 times a week, and maybe you could do like a meatless Monday where you stay away from meat and have more beans in your diet on that day as your source of protein. We also want to plan for a few servings of non-starchy vegetables. Again, color matters. Try to get different colors of those vegetables. Include a few servings of fish. Again, fruit. And then look at your portion sizes. Don't overdo it with the sugary fruits. And then decrease your intake of processed foods and foods high in sugar. And then my last slide just has all of my references. Jazakallah.